Assalamu alaikum, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Here I am, Dr. Faiza Shaheen, with the lecture number 2 of Educational Psychology. Let's start with the introduction to psychology. The agenda of today's lecture is Introduction to Psychology, which we have already discussed in the previous lecture as well. That what is the definition of psychology and what is the basic nature and function of educational psychology. Schools of thought, which are three: structuralism, functionalism, and behaviorism. Nature and function of educational psychology. Introduction to psychology. It is the contribution of two Greek words, psyche and logos. Psyche means self, soul, or mind, and logos stands for study or knowledge. So we can say that psychology is the science of soul, mind, and behavior of an individual. Psyche means mind and logos means study. So we can in simple words say that psychology is the study of human mind and behavior. Psychology is the scientific study of behavior and mental process. And what is meant by behavior and mental process, we will see. Behavior, everything we do can directly observed, such as laughing, crying, running, writing, or drinking. Everything which is observable, people can directly observe by our actions, that is behavior. And what is meant by mental process, it means the thoughts, feelings, and motives that each of us experience but cannot be observed directly, which are hidden, such as logical thinking, love, hatred, or anger, etc. These are not tangible things, or in simple words, these are not observable. We cannot see the logical thinking, but it can be measurable in some other terms. There are different inventories made to measure these kind of traits or characteristics. Schools of thought. So in the previous slides we have gone through the introduction, in which we have gone through the psychology definition of psychology, which is simply said that scientific study of human mind and behavior is called psychology. Now there are three schools of thought which will be discussed in detail in this lecture. The different schools of psychology represent the major theories within psychology, which is structuralism, functionalism, and behaviorism. It can also be said that it tells us that how the psychology as an interdisciplinary discipline has been evolved. The history of psychology can be easily understood by these schools of thought. Structuralism. The first school of thought, structuralism, was advocated by the founder of the first psychology lab, William Wundt. He says that psychology is the study of consciousness, the current state of mind. According to him, that only the study of consciousness is studied under structuralism. Further, he says structuralism focused on breaking down mental processes into the most basic components. Whenever we break down the mental processes, that is called structuralism. Introspection is a scientific method used to describe what a person feels. And what does it mean by introspection? We can say that basically we say that it is used in basic scientific method as well. Even now, the experimental psychology and experimental research is also based on introspection. The only method that can break down the mental processes into the basic units, basic components, is called structuralism. We can know that what are the types of mental experiences. These are sensation and feelings. Sensation and feeling are closely related. Sometimes we do not differentiate between these two. Sensation is the process of receiving information from external environment through sensory organs. That we can have a feeling, we can receive the message of the internal or external environment, that is sensation. In the form, what are your senses? Five senses tell you that what is hot, what is cold. The taste buds tell you the taste of something. This is sensation. but feeling is something else. Feeling is the result of sensation. So it is the outcome of sensation. Contribution of structuralism in the field. Historians give due credit to the contribution of William Wundt and Titchener, the student of William Wundt. These both were the founder of structuralism, although they contributed a lot, but sometimes we have seen that Titchener disagree with his teacher Wundt at some places. Their subject matter was clearly defined. The structuralism school also influenced the development of experimental psychology because of using the method of introspection. Introspection is still used in many areas of psychology. Criticism. Although this was the first school of thought, but it was criticized by so many psychologists in the later life. So we can say that criticism include the use of introspection led to a lack of reliability in results. We cannot only rely on the method of introspection to know something or to break down the mental processes. This is one criticism which is negative. Other critics argue that structuralism was too concerned with internal behavior, which is not directly observable and cannot be accurately measured. So if we can say that structuralism is the only school of thought to explain the mental processes, so we cannot rely on it due to these two criticisms, which are very much evident due to lack of reliability and due to having not only confining and concerning with the internal behavior only, because internal behavior cannot be accurately measured through introspection. Coming towards the second school of thought, which is functionalism. Functionalism formed as a reaction to the theories of the structuralism school of thought and was heavily influenced by the work of William James. So William James was the pioneer. He was the one who introduced this school of thought. Major functionalist thinkers also included John Dewey and Harvey Kerr. It states that mind is fluid, not stable. Conscious is ongoing, not a static thing. So we can also not only the structure of something, we should focus on the function of something primarily. Rather than focusing on the elements of consciousness, functionalists focused on the purpose of consciousness and behavior. Functionalism also emphasized individual differences, which had a profound impact on education. So they say that the purpose of consciousness and behavior is also important. Rather than the structure only, the purpose of consciousness and behavior is also important to know. To study mental process, understand the function of mind, that is, we should know that not only the structure of the mind but also the function of mind and how does it work, how the elements of mind work together, how can we do 2 or 3 things at once, how can we become a we can do multitasking, how mental process promote adaptation. So adaptation is a process and how we can promote it. So this is explained in the functionalism. These are the questions of functionalism. Functionalism contributed greatly to the development of psychology. It extended both subject matter of psychology as well as range of method used to acquire data. Functionalists are also credited with bringing the study of animals, children and abnormal behavior into the psychology and emphasize on individual differences. This is the contribution which is not deniable, that beyond the structure of the mind and mental processes, it focuses on bringing the study of animals, children and abnormal behavior. And abnormal behavior and children and animal study is the major subjects and the individual difference is the major subject of psychology. Functionalism established practical application of psychology to the real problems. So this is the major contribution. But even then this school of thought was criticized. They say that functionalism relied heavily on the technique of introspection. As we have said that structuralism and functionalism relies on the technique of introspection, which cannot be regarded as a reliable, valid and objective report. So subjectivity is there. Whenever we use introspection, we can tell anything which we assume that may not be the accurate reporting or objective reporting. They only focus on the function but neglected one important influence, which is reflecting our and taking us to the other school of thought, the third school of thought, which is behaviorism. They say that it only focus on its functions and neglected one important influence of human thought and its behavior. So the third school of thought is there, which is free of the which is there to remove the criticism, and it says it talks about the behavior component as well. Behaviorism became a dominant school of thought during 1950s. It was based upon the work of thinkers such as John B. Watson, Ivan Pavlov, and B. F. Skinner. Behaviorism suggests that all behavior can be explained by environmental causes rather than by internal forces. So everything is not from within the mental process, but sometimes the external factors also influence the behavior, and the behavioral study is important. Behaviorism is focused on observable behavior. Theories of learning, including classical conditioning and operant conditioning, were the focus of a great deal of research. So these two theories are example that behaviorism focused on that how classical conditioning occurs and how operant conditioning works. These two theories will be read in the fourth chapter, which is learning. So we will go through these theories as well. But behaviorism says that all the behavior can be explained by environmental causes rather than the internal forces. What is its contribution? The behavioral school of psychology had a significant influence on the course of psychology and many of the ideas and techniques that emerged from this school of thought. So it was highly practical, and so many theories regarding behavior training, token economies, and aversion therapy are frequently used in the modification programs and in the behavior modification. So it has so many contributions which makes the educational psychology as a practical subject. But even then it was criticized. There are 2 points written here, that many aspects of human experience lie outside a strict behavioral definition of psychology. So we cannot, everything that a person does is not explained properly through behaviorism. There are some other definitions, there are some other experiences that needs to be explained, which are beyond the scope of behaviorism. This too much will be studied in order to gain a more complete understanding of the individual. Although it is criticized, but it is an important school of thought that explains the detailed explanation of behavior of an individual. So these were 3 schools of thought. Now we are moving towards next topic, which is nature and function of educational psychology. As we have gone through the definition of psychology, that it is the scientific study of human behavior and mind. So educational psychology, when we mix or apply the psychological rules, principles, and techniques into the field of education, it becomes educational psychology. So we cannot separate education with psychology because educational psychology is an offshoot or stem of psychology. Its nature can't be changed from psychology. These are two mixed, or we can say that interdependent disciplines. And educational psychology is the applied branch of psychology. Applied branch means it is an applied branch of fundamental psychology, and it employs scientific methods and adopts scientific approaches to the study of learner behavior. And being teacher, we know the importance of learner behavior. Without knowing the behavior of the learner, a teacher cannot proceed. So she necessarily needs to know what are the reasons of certain behavior of the learners. Specific science, it says that educational psychology is limited in dealing with the behavior of pupil in relation to the educational environment. So it can be said as a specific science because main purpose of the education is to educate pupils. So educational psychology studies the details of pupil behavior in relation to the educational environment in which he is studying. It is a natural science. It says that an educational psychologist conducts his investigations, gathers his data, and reaches his conclusions in exactly the same way as physicist or biologist. So it is close to natural science. It is not a pure natural science, but it is close to natural science. Similarly, the way the physicist or biologist gathers data, similarly educational psychologist gathers his data in educational settings and conclude on the basis of the gathered data. Body and facts. It possesses systematic, well-organized and internationally accepted body and facts supported by the psychological laws, principles and theories. So the content of educational psychology is full and enriched with the theories and basics of psychological rules, principles and theories. So it is based on logical facts. Growing and developing science. Like any other discipline, it is not static. It is keep on growing and developing day by day, because educational context is dynamic. Each day we face different problems and issues. So educational psychology, due to its research and practices, it is concerned with the new researches and developing changes each day. Thus educational psychology is ever growing day by day. Practical science, it is said as a practical science as it solves the practical problems. So it is practical in nature. Effective teaching is impossible without the knowledge of educational psychology. So we can say that it is a practical science. Positive science, this is another characteristic and function, that educational psychology is a positive science, not a normative science, as it is not concerned with the values. So we can say it is a positive science which is full in its own context, and it solves the problems, issues faced in the context of education, and solution is given through psychology. So it primarily deals with how, when and what of education. So it is the educational psychology. This was the need and function of educational psychology. So we will have an overview of the lecture. In this lecture we have gone through and read the concept and definition of educational psychology. Then we have seen the schools of thought, which are three: structuralism, functionalism and behaviorism. And at the end we have seen the nature and function of educational psychology. And here I am going to suggest you one book, S.K. Mengel's Advanced Educational Psychology book, in which schools of thought and basic introduction to the educational psychology is written in detail. S.K. Mengel's Educational Psychology book. For other queries and questions, you are more than welcome. Thank you.